Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On The Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Orduna, this is my mom Gina.
He's a journalist.
She's the enthusiast.
I'm always enthusiastic about football, and that's what we're talking about.
Correct. We are, as we've said our last couple episodes, each day, each moment, each minute, each second getting closer and closer to the actual kickoff to football season. And that's on every level, high school, college, pro, pee-wee, whatever, flag. Football season is now in front of us, and we are so excited to finally be talking about football.
Yes.
It is awesome. And so we are actually going to be talking about college football in today's episode. We're going to talk a little Nick Saban and some of the things that he said in the media.
Worth the price of the ticket.
As he loves the media, as we all know. Yes.
Price of the ticket.
And speaking of Nick Saban and being a head coach and his positioning, there are some head coaches that we are going to highlight and talk about, as there's some hot seat conversations that we want to bring up and bring you, because that's kind of where we're at right now. Every year, there's always a coach on the hot seat, or in jeopardy of potentially losing their job if they don't have a winning season or knock off some big teams. And so we're going to talk about those teams with those coaches and those teams here right now. I just know that for me, because I was able to play college football, I have a special place in my heart for it. It is unlike any other level of football. Not that the pros aren't great and high school isn't its own awesomeness. Yeah, it is. But college football specifically is so awesome and amazing. What are your quick thoughts on just college football in general and what it means to you?
And you know I love every level of football. I have been known to watch 6th grade games, Canadian League, arena. I love all football. But what I do think is unique about college football is that it's something that people take in like family. Right. If you've graduated from that college, if the college is in your town, if your dad was a fan of it, you know, you get there, you have the band and the cheerleaders, and there's a certain feel of it. And even though it's technically amateur, you're looking at the next wave of pros coming through there. And there's just nothing like it. And the other part of it is the rivalries. Now, we live in the land of the Chiefs. We hate the Broncos, apparently, if you're a Chief. And you cannot stand the Raiders. And it's kind of like the Chargers. But those are rivalries. But Broncos in college, this is hatred. This is Ohio State, Michigan hate each other.
Back in
Alabama, Auburn.
1900s, when they barely had helmets, or there's just no helmets at all.
50, it was just 60, 70-year-old rivalries, 100-year-old rivalries. And I think that's something very unique about college. So I love it. And then you love the kids, because you know what they're going through, and then they're out there just giving it their all, and it's very unique.
It is unique.
I'm not saying it's better than the pros. I'm not saying it's worse than pros. It's just got its own feel, and I'm very excited for it.
Yes, there is a camaraderie factor within college football that you don't necessarily get with the pros. But it is similar to high school, to where you know that these are young men striving for greatness, trying to have success and win, and you know, how, like you just said, how much work is put into it.
Yes.
So with that being said, college football is just days away.
I think we're 10 days away.
Literally,
like that.
We are right there. And so the preseason rankings have come out. Nick Saban's Alabama Crimson Tide is right there at the top of the list. And obviously you have the coaches poll, you have the AP poll. Right. There's always other polls, the USA Today's top 25. So there's, Athlons, you got all these magazines and newspapers and stuff that kind of have their own, and everyone's pretty close.
We do our own little ranking.
We do our own, and we will be doing that here in our next couple episodes. But Nick Saban loves the press. He loves the press. He loves the limelight. He loves the cameras. He loves the microphones. He loves getting up on that podium and tearing them up, and that's what he does. He gets up there. One of the last press conferences he had, he got off on a younger reporter, which I kind of thought it was a little bit extreme. Right. But Alabama has a new offensive coordinator, and it's the offensive coordinator from the Patriots. Well, he wasn't the offensive coordinator at the Patriots. He was the tight ends coach, but now he is the offensive coordinator for the Alabama Crimson Tide for Bama. And so the question was, hey, are you guys going to be running the football? And this was during the spring football.
Right, I remember this.
And so Coach Saban just freaked out on him. He's just like, I can't believe you would even ask a question like that. And
what he said is, whoever's reporting that we're running the ball only doesn't know what they're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Are you even a reporter? I mean, it was a fair question, because it was like, hey, you got a pro coach now that is now on your coaching staff after
Lane Kiffin is now at Florida Atlantic. You know, are you guys going to change it up? And he just blew him up. Well, that's just one interview. He has gone off on the press about a lot of different things.
It's worth the Google.
Right.
Google Nick Saban and the press.
Exactly. Well, the newest one came out. The newest press conference came out, and he's had other press conferences where he's been very cordial, very nice.
Yes.
You know, you have the SEC media days, etc. And he's been able to give pretty good interviews. But there are some times where one question comes out and he just blows up. And I think the question for this press conference was, you know, how do you guys feel about being the #1 team again? I mean, what were your reactions when you saw this interview, and what was he saying?
Well, what's so funny is Nick said, he was just like, why do we even play? You guys know everything. I don't even know why we bothered to play games.
Right.
You guys seem to have all the answers. I loved it. Listen, you're a journalist.
Yep.
I'm your mom. I would hate to ever see Nick Saban go off on you. But you got to understand where the passion comes from that coach.
Absolutely.
Nick Saban understands the pressure he's under all the time.
Right.
And you stand up on the podium and someone goes for the, hey, coach, you're #1. He's like, you know what? Can I just play the game?
Yeah, let's get to the season.
Let me get to the season. Let me get 5, 6, 7 games in and see what we're doing at that point.
I will say, Alabama is going to be really, really
They're
good.
my preseason #1.
I mean, it is going to be very difficult to pick against them this year.
Yes.
Clemson does not have Deshaun Watson.
Nope.
And so, therefore, Alabama speaking, they are going to have a really good season this year.
You know, and there's not a whole lot of people who are going to challenge them.
That's my point.
We have some SEC. We'll get into the predictions, but the truth is, across the country, there will be good teams. I think Alabama's going to separate themselves.
Yes.
You've got Ohio State, maybe. You got Michigan.
Yep.
Which
because some people have Ohio State as being the #1 team in the nation right now, and so it's kind of like, hey, you don't know. I mean,
you don't, and that's the great thing also about college.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Any sport, you're dealing with human beings that can have an off day. In college, these kids can have off days.
Off days.
So you just never know what's going to happen when they hit the field.
They're 20 years old.
Yes.
So
some are 18, 19.
Right. And so I just know that Alabama's, just going off of the spring, they are stacked and loaded at quarterback, at running back, on defense. They are going to be very, very good. And so we will see what happens. But Nick Saban, the point is that Nick Saban
already he's in mid-season
take
form.
That question exactly mid-season form. He did not take that question from the reporter as a light joke. He was upset with the fact that they're bringing up that they're the #1 team right now.
You know, it's so funny. If someone said to you, hey, you're the #1 sports show on YouTube, you wouldn't think that you'd be mad about that.
Right, right.
You tell Nick Saban, hey, you're #1 in the country. Chop, chop, chop.
Exactly. Well, speaking of, like we mentioned, head coaches.
Yes.
There are quite a few head coaches right now that have some, I feel like, Lucy from I Love Lucy, where what's her husband's name? Ricky, where he's like, Lucy, you have some splaining to do. That's what these coaches have. They have some splaining to do, as this season could be their last at these schools. And I'm just going to list off the names of some coaches that are potentially on the hot seat or are
definitely
on
potentially
the hot
or definitely.
Yes. Brian Kelly for Notre Dame. You got Rich Rodriguez out there in Arizona. Kevin Sumlin down there in Texas A&M.
That makes me sad.
Jim Mora out there West Coast at UCLA. Butch Jones down there in Tennessee. And then surprisingly a little bit, Cliff Kingsbury down there in Texas Tech. Those coaches, those names are pretty good coaches. I mean, I would play for any of those coaches, quite frankly. But a lot of those programs have extremely high standards. They're expecting national championship runs. They have really strong boosters and people that support that program, and they feel like that if you're the head coach, you should be winning 10 games a year.
Well, you know what the old phrase is. You know, they say winning breeds winning.
Right, of course.
Sometimes, but winning breeds expectations every time.
Every single time.
All you have to do is win once. We had KU down here. I love my Jayhawks, you know, all that.
Right.
Big 12. They had like 1.5 good seasons, and all of a sudden, Jayhawk Nation thought they were a football school.
Right.
You're a basketball school. But I'm just saying, winning.
Well, you know, they're bringing back Mark Mangino to give him. They're putting him in the Hall of Fame. They're putting him in the Hall of Fame.
He deserves to be there because he did an amazing
But that's the point,
thing,
though, is that you have, you know, football does that to you. You feel like if you win, all of a sudden you should be national champion. Right in there, exactly.
Michigan State started thinking they should run the Big Ten.
And they were for a little bit until Michigan finally came back. Ohio State finally came back. You know, Penn State's back. Nebraska's looking to try to come back.
I'm just full of hate. I'm just hating today. Sorry, Michigan State. I'm sorry, KU. I love you. Nothing but love.
We will see what happens with these schools and these teams and these coaches. Hopefully they can have some winning seasons. I know there's some teams that went 4-8, like UCLA. Notre Dame is one of those very historic, you know, premier elite programs in the country, and they have not really reached their full potential with Brian Kelly, even though he did get them to, again, kind of like KU, 1.5 good real seasons.
Right.
And again, not to say that some of these teams haven't put players in the NFL or haven't had All-Americans, but we're talking about legitimate national championship runs, winning your conference, kind of running your show there.
Well, and again, it's not just what your win and loss record is. It's if your loss is a 59-10 blowout by Alabama, or you know, those are the things that get the boosters. You got to get this joker out of here, because that's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
Winning feels great. Losing always stinks. But if you're getting whooped on national TV, that's when the booster like, I don't want to be embarrassed.
It is going to be a great college football season.
I'm ready to go.
I'm so excited.
I'm ready
Can't wait for kickoff. K-State opens up with Central Arkansas. It's going to be kind of a scrimmage, but I'm excited for it to happen anyway. We want to say we appreciate your time, folks. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, type in my name, Adam Orduna, and like our Facebook page, type in OTD. We'll see you again, folks.